As usual, a lot is going on in the world, and we'll be talking about that, seeing what's happening in the world and what people's reaction to it is. And all along those lines, tourists scrambled as a 600-year-old Chinese tower partially collapsed. So there was the roof of a 600-year-old historic Chinese tower that collapsed, and investigation is underway after tiles fell from the recently repaired Finyang Drum Tower in China's Anhui. So definitely that is something going on, is that plunging roof tiles definitely was going on in that area. UK suspends free trade talks with Israel and announces sanctions. So Britain, France, and Canada condemn Israel's expansion of the Gaza war. BBC said that this must end now and that Rayner has got a secret plan. So we'll see how this all goes as well. So the UK is pausing trade talks and the EU is reviewing its relationships with Israel as pressures grow on Netanyahu to halt his Gaza siege. Japanese farm minister resigns following gaffe over rice. So Japan's agricultural minister resigns after his remark about not having to buy rice. So Japanese farm minister resigns after saying he'd never bought rice. So definitely that's something going on, and apparently that saying of that statement cost him his job. So apparently we know that a lot of Asian cultures, rice is a major staple of their diet, and apparently this gentleman was like, I don't like rice. So apparently that cost him his job and everything like that. Pope Leo the 14th calls for aid to reach Gaza in his first general audience. So he called for in aid in there in Gaza, and he was also asking for some other things as well. He was asking for an end to hostilities in his first general audience. So he appealed for Israel to allow humanitarian aid in that area and all along those lines. So even the Vatican News said that love does not calculate. So apparently he's definitely trying to get people to be more peace loving. And that's something that he would like to see in this world. And we'll see what folks have to say about that. Doctors are detailing the Gaza famine. We're not asking for miracles. We're asking for food. That's what they were saying in a report on ABC News. And in another report on BBC, it said things are getting harder every day. Gazans face starvation as UN says aid is yet to reach the civilians. So that is something going on as well. And Trump Putin call not just diplomatic win for Russia, but we'll see how that all plays out. So definitely the NBC News called it friends without benefits, how the long running Trump and Putin bromance is still not delivering. So some people are saying, including the Slate magazine, that it's becoming clear what Trump really wants from Russia. So we'll see how this all goes as well. And a pro Russian ex Ukrainian politician, Andrei Portnov, reportedly was killed outside an American school in Spain. So apparently that took place where Nick is at in Spain. So an advisor to Ukrainian ex-president Viktor Yanukovych has been shot dead in Spain. So he was over there, and I believe he was in Madrid. So that is something that is going on in Spain. And the personal secretary and advisor to Mexico City's mayor was shot dead as well. So a gunman kills Mexico City's top aides in a roadside attack, and the personal secretary and advisor to Mexico City's mayor was killed in a brazen daylight attack. So that's something that folks are talking about as well. And Ali Khan Mahmoudabad, a bail for Indian professor arrested for his anti-war comments. So India arrests an academic for anti-war posts on Instagram. So that was actually what some things that was written on Instagram. And no proof of insult. Indian officials questioned over Muslim professor's arrest. Veiled misogyny is what some folks are calling it, as VCs and academics slam Ashika University professor's comments. So we'll see how this all plays out as well, because some people are wondering how much freedom you have to say what you say in social media. So I know that Nick is involved in the legal aspect. He might have some thoughts around that, whether it's here or whether it's in other parts of the world as well. And new intelligence suggests Israel is preparing a possible strike on Iranian nuclear facilities. That's what U.S. officials are saying. And all along those lines, and oil prices jumped more than 1% on Middle East supply fear. And Rubio defends Trump's foreign policy as Democrats press him on Gaza aid and the folks that are coming over as refugees from South Africa that are white South African So we'll see how it goes on in that. Rubio and Van Hollen got into a heated exchange over Trump policies during the Senate hearing. So definitely it looks like a lot's going on in that space as well. And Britain's became the first to scale Mount Everest with the help of a Xenon gas organizers say. So Everest Xenon climbers hurry to make ambitious deadline, and it looks like they did it despite the high winds. So definitely that's something going on as those four men were caught in controversy with an audacious plan to scale Everest in 1 week. So apparently they did that, and they have now got that in their bag of tricks as well. And Pakistan blames India for suspected suicide attack on a school bus. So, school bus attack in Balochistan kills at least 5 people, 3 children, and 2 adults killed in a suicide attack on a school bus in Pakistan. So that's something else that folks are talking about. And Romania's new pro-European president puts it back on a Western course, but fault line remains. So 18 hours in the making of a president inside Nicolae Dan's election win. So Musk and Sachs are questioning the Romanian election and at odds with the U.S. diplomats. So definitely there's folks that are not happy with those results, and they're talking about it, including possibly Elon Musk. So we'll see what that goes on, because he has been having his say on a number of elections, not just here in the U.S., but in other places as well. I think I read somewhere in social media that he said he might be backing off of doing a lot of politics and all along those lines, but we'll see if that is the case, or if he was just saying that because he's got a lot of things that he has already achieved and everything like in that process. Trump is fast tracked the processing of white South African refugees, but not everyone wants to leave. So Trump to press Ramaphosa to pare back racial equity laws. So Trump is hosting the South African president at the White House amid tensions. So according to Fox News, Trump will be meeting the leader of what they are saying is an out of control South Africa at White House. So we'll see if that's the case, and if folks actually think that this is out of control as they are being perceived as. But definitely that's something else going on as well. And House Republicans reach a deal on Trump's $3 trillion budget bill, Johnson says. So House GOP races to revamp major policy bill, grasping for votes to pass it. So GOP hardliners are threatening late revolt over the mega bill. So we'll see what goes on as Trump's economic agenda hinges on a tax bill that divides his own party. And apparently Trump's Golden Dome risks the weaponization of space, is what China is saying. So Trump has unveiled his plans for the Golden Dome missile defense system, and I know that our own Jonathan Lockwood will be glad to hear about that, because he's been talking about that here on Pod TV for a number of years, and even before getting to Pod TV, he was talking about it as well. But Trump and Pete Hegseth have announced Golden Dome, a game changer to protect the American homeland. But it is a $175 billion plan that they have announced for the Golden Dome missile shields and everything like that. And Democratic challenger defeats Pittsburgh mayor in a primary. So Pittsburgh mayor Ed Gainey's stunning primary defeat highlights the era of political upheaval. So O'Connor knocked off incumbent Gainey in Pittsburgh's Democratic mayoral primary, and Moreno got the GOP nod. So we'll see what happens in that space as Pittsburgh's mayoral race headlines primary election day in Western Pennsylvania. And Justice Department is opening an inquiry into Andrew Cuomo singling out another political target. But the DOJ is opening an investigation into Andrew Cuomo over pandemic testimony. So they're saying that he allegedly lied about COVID decisions, and that's what sources are claiming, and they are going to be investigating him. And Democratic Representative Jerry Connolly of Virginia died after battling cancer. That's something that came from his family and all along those lines, and he died at the age of 75. And Kristi Noem says that habeas corpus lets Trump remove people from this country. So Ronnie Ching takes issue with Kristi Noem's takes on immigration, but DA Secretary misstates the meaning of habeas corpus under Senate scrutiny. So apparently she's been having a hard time defining this term and all along those lines. And an arrested maintenance worker says he was forced to assist the New Orleans jailbreak. So the fifth escaped inmate has been captured in New Orleans, 5 have been nabbed, 5 to go. I think it was 10 that broke out. So the manhunt still goes on for the escaped New Orleans inmates, and that's now reaching its 6th day. So definitely that is something that folks are looking at, and who knows, they might find them in Louisiana, or they might have gotten out of Louisiana, but that would be something that folks will be talking about as well. And Democrats vow payback in a Senate rules fight, and the Senate is fighting over gas-powered vehicles is also a filibuster showdown. So the Senate shouldn't sacrifice its filibuster to score political points. So definitely the U.S. Senate is having an effort to block vehicle emission rules in California. And the judge has ordered Trump administration to retain custody of Asian immigrants. So judge orders U.S. to keep custody of migrants amid claims they were sent to South Sudan. The judge orders U.S. officials to appear in court to answer questions about migrants being sent to South Sudan. And House GOP lawmakers are proposing nearly $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid and some of the food programs. So GOP mega bill to save Congress nearly $800 billion while kicking millions of people off of health insurance. Republican bill cuts Medicaid for unemployed, undocumented children, and Planned Parenthood. So that's definitely some of the things that are going on. And the Senate unexpectedly passed the No Tax on Tips Act in a unanimous vote. So the Senate passed no tax on tips in a surprise move. So that could be some good news for those that are working in those kinds of fields. And Tennessee prepares to execute Oscar Smith 3 years after his last-minute reprieve. There was even an article that said true evil exists. Tennessee man killed his estranged wife and her 2 teenage sons. So Oscar Smith to be executed on Thursday, which will be tomorrow, marking Tennessee's first execution since 2020. But we'll get into some of these discussions and all along those lines. But let me bring in my fine folks, which include Rick Rosner, who's usually with me, and Nick Valveda as well. So, Rick, what's your take on this whole the big beautiful bill? I think that's what they're calling it now.
It's bad. It doesn't cut the taxes. Well, that no tax on tips, which is a separate thing. It's not part of the bill. That might save some people a little bit of money. But the big beautiful bill raises taxes on the poorest 1/3 of people in the country, doesn't cut taxes on the middle third, and gives a ton of money back to the very richest. The $400,000. If you're in the top 1/10 of 1%, you get to keep $400,000 more dollars of your money, even though our tax rates for rich people are the lowest they've been in 70 years.
So, Nick, you're one of those rich people. Are you going to be keeping some of your money? Because they're saying wealthy gain, low income people lose from the GOP mega bill, and that's what some of the analysis.
I'm not in the top 1/10.
Oh, I mean, Nick.
Nick, I own it.
I live in Spain. In case you didn't know, Mark, I'm a resident of Spain. So what goes on in the U.S. Doesn't really affect me, except the treaty exchange rate. So, so what are you guys doing over there? Why are you making rich people richer? What's the deal?
I don't know, but everybody should move overseas, because there's a thing I learned about when my kid moved. There's the foreign earned income exclusion.
That's right.
If you're working overseas, you don't have to pay U.S. taxes on the first $120,000 you make. It's crazy.
Right. Actually, it's good, but you have to go to a jurisdiction not like Spain, where you actually pick up the Spanish tax. Okay, you need to move to a jurisdiction like Monaco, which has no income tax, or a place that has little or no income tax, and then take advantage of what you just described, Rick, the foreign working exclusion. So if you're a nomad, you should do that. In other words, a digital nomad, which a lot of people are. They work on the internet, and they can move to a jurisdiction. The other thing is something that radically happened that Mark didn't pick up in his news report is your health system is being severely compromised in the United States. You have 2 real clowns who took over. I don't know their names, Markley and something else. Dr. Patmos will go over it because
he'll talk about that, and there's definitely those clowns like RFK. I did have a question about Spain. What are y'all doing capturing Ukrainian ex-politicians over there in Madrid? So apparently it was like the Madrid American school, and he was killed apparently in your neck of the woods. I don't know if y'all been covering this, but apparently that was the Ukrainian ex-president that was shot dead in Spain, or an advisor to the president.
Yeah, I don't know much about it, Mark. So the thing is, it hasn't hit, but I've been busy, so I haven't looked at any of this.
Hey, Rick, I got a quick question, and we'll get to some other things too. So this is a kind of like a somewhat humorous, maybe not totally humorous, but when I think of Asia, I usually think of certain things, including their diet. But apparently, a Japanese agricultural minister got in trouble because he made the remark that he doesn't buy rice. So that was a whole gaffe over there, and that's apparently because he was their farm minister. What got him in trouble after saying that he had never bought rice. And certain cultures have like a part of their staple is something, and I would think Asia, part of their staple is the rice diet. And he's like, I never bought rice. What's this rice thing you're talking about?
All right, I don't know. I don't care about just one guy saying he doesn't like a particular type of food. I want to talk about habeas corpus for a second, because it's kind of a tricky definition. And Kristi Noem cried yesterday. People were giving her crap because she got habeas corpus totally wrong. And Nick can correct me, but habeas corpus is when you're in prison, you get thrown in the clink. The government, upon request, has to bring you into court before a judge and explain why they're holding you. So they can't disappear you. They can't throw you into a forever jail in El Salvador. They have to be able to produce you and then explain why they're holding you. Is that correct?
Yeah, basically. Habeas corpus has been around a long time, since 1166. I think they called it the Assize of Clarendon or something like that. So, and it's also embedded in our Constitution that they can't get rid of it. But basically, the whole theory is that somebody is being held somewhere by a government official, and then what the attorney does is he files what they call a writ of habeas corpus to be brought in front of the judge to determine whether or not this person is being held legally or illegally. And then there's since it's embedded in the Constitution, there's some different ways that they could actually suspend habeas corpus under war, et cetera. But for the most part,
what happens if you don't have a lawyer? You get picked up.
Then you're an idiot. You need to have a lawyer. I mean, the thing is, see, that's the real problem you have in your country. First of all, half the people in your country can't afford $400 if they were had to die. The income and the asset base is so skewed that you're really a third world country. You just haven't figured it out yet. So when you figure 50% of the population have zero assets, zero money, how do you afford a lawyer? Well, you can't. But you should have a lawyer relationship, and there are legal services you can go to. Even the Florida bar has pro bono services which you can go to that will help you out, and you should have a relationship. I think everybody should have one. Just like
everybody needs an attorney. Yeah, everybody needs a lawyer. But Nick, quick question for you about international things. I wish Sasha was here, but apparently the New York Times has reported that Trump's new position, and maybe you got some thoughts on this, Rick, and everything, on the war in Ukraine is not his problem. So apparently he's backing off of this notion of a ceasefire and all along those lines, and he's still good friends with Putin. I guess he's also friends with Zelensky to some degree as well. But apparently it's like he's got this new idea that they'll just do what they're going to do, which apparently is continue fighting. They've been fighting, I think, for a little bit over 3 years now.
So Trump is a little bit bulletproof. His base does not desert him, regardless of what he does. Now, Biden's entire presidency, kind of fell apart when he pulled us out of Afghanistan, a thing that was kind of set up for us to do by Trump, who negotiated our withdrawal before he left the presidency. Biden, he fell 20 points in approval and never recovered. But Trump can say, I can't do anything about it. And he won't lose his base. And Trump and his people are constantly testing us and his base and with nonsense to see if we're going to get pissed at him. And his support tends not to go down.
And you're correct. He won't lose his base because no matter what his policy is over with Ukraine. But the real question is, what should the United States do with Ukraine? And who are your leaders on the opposition? oh, wait a minute, you don't have any leaders. You have idiots. You have Bernie Sanders. Everybody should be a socialist. You have Elizabeth Warren. Oh, we know, everybody should be a socialist. So because the progressives are so bloody weak in their leadership, it created a Donald Trump, and that's reality. I don't know what happens, but my conversations is that the progressives grab onto these things that they hold so dear, like LGBTQI rights, no matter what, and transgender people, right? Okay, and that just turns off the center. And so the thing is, that it turns off people that could actually lead the progressives into some form of civility. But instead,
it's a structure, among other things, it's a structural problem. So the Republicans have been moving far to the right for decades, and so they own the right. They abandon the center. So the Democrats, it's like chess. I don't know chess, but I assume you can be in a position where you have too much real estate to defend. The Democrats have to figure out how to get the center, hold on to the center, at the same time not piss off the progressives on the left. It's too much.
Exactly correct. In chess, the name of the game is to control the center. That's kind of like the first principles that you learned on Aaron Nimzowicz's book. So the thing is, any good chess master will say you got to look to the center of the board, because mathematically there's more action there than other places. But what happens is that if you pander too much to the left, which the leaders of progressive do, they end up losing the center, which is what they do, which means they lose everything. The other thing is, Rick, they're like PBS and NPR. No, I do not like PBS. They don't groom new ideas. They don't groom new people. They quash them. In political standings in both parties, they quash the person underneath. It's definitely Machiavellian. In other words, if you're the prince, the first thing you do is you see someone coming up, stomp them out. And so there's no opportunity in either party to bring anybody good on, and all the good people go, I'm not going to get involved in this sewer. So they stay out. So you get this big dysfunctional government, which you've had. And the latest is health. We're going to have Dr. Patmos bring it out, but the two clowns that just took over the CDC and FDA don't have a clue what they're talking about or doing. And they're putting their own mandates, such as if you're under 65, you can't have a COVID vaccine.
Well, since you want to go after them and everything, until we got Dr. Sharif here and everything, what is the media like in Dr. Sharif in your area and everything? Because I actually came from the background of NPR radio and everything like that. But how is the media treated in Bangladesh? Is it a state-run media? Is it a free media? What is the media's position, and how is the media handled in Bangladesh and other parts of your world?
Okay. Bangladesh media, I want to say it's growing. Definitely, it's not like USA. It's in growing stage. Because Bangladesh right now moving with a transition period. Like when media get maximum freedom, because if a country has democracy, civil society practice all of the good things, then it happens. So let's say I have some experience to work with Bangladesh Television. It's a state-run agencies. They are focusing on the grassroots level communities. They are growing. On the other hand, the mainstream media, those who come from private sector, it's actually controlled by corporations. I think the same thing happened in USA. That's all of the large corporations. They have their own media right now. And they are trying to control the economy, control the media, control the politics, and all of the things. But yeah, we have a lot of programs like Bangladesh has good music, good movie, good drama, and all of the things. News is very important. Bangladesh people like politics, so they want to involve in politics and through media and everything. But honestly speaking, beside these things, I'm observing social media like Facebook is playing a major role right now to influence the peoples, to creating a lot of social media influentials we have in Bangladesh. all of our political decisions, government decisions, everything actually run and controlled by social media. Even though the mainstream media, they covered the news based on the popularity in social media. So I want to say USA has smart people, and USA like this Facebook, like this LinkedIn, this company right now, they are actually playing a major role in Bangladesh to managing the media and all of the things. So that's why you see right now the new regime come to the power, and many young people, young politicians also playing role because of social media. It's a new era. It's completely new things. It's completely new dimensions. And through the social media, how Pod TV work, this is very inspiring, this is very positive, and this is very helpful for our communities. Maybe we can bring the new people, a new audience in our community. Those who have Western mindset, those who can understand the thought process of Western peoples, and maybe they can improve their lifestyles, their economic activities, everything through this media. But now, social media is very powerful in Bangladesh.
What about TikTok? Are you guys on TikTok?
Yes, TikTok. Honestly speaking, there are a lot of influential work in TikTok in Bangladesh, even in South Asia. Everybody try to raise their voice and their activities and everything TikTok. But Facebook, compared to LinkedIn and TikTok, is a major player for our business, for our media, for our politics, everything. That is my understanding about Bangladesh, even in South Asia. Yeah.
That's what I've
Right. So
seen.
you
That
were
was on
talking
mute,
about
but
medicine.
Dr.
There's a
Sharif.
major thing. We've got a new COVID vaccine. COVID's still here, though the numbers are pretty low currently because it's summertime. But there's this new Novamax uh, vaccine that doesn't have mRNA that that like the Pfizer does that got everybody on the all these anti-vaxxers all upset. This is kind of I guess a more old school style vaccine. So we'll see if all these anti-vaxxers like this new old school vaccine that does said to have less side effects, said to be more effective than the mRNA vaccines. I feel like the anti-vaxxers will come up with a whole new set of excuses why Novavax they're not going to get that. But
Yeah, well, the anti-vaxxers are controlling the how you call it. They're controlling the health in the United States of America. Now, notice I say in the United States of America because I'm in Spain, so I don't have to deal with the fact the health system is going right down the toilet in the United States of America. Because I'm seeing my doctor next week, by the way, when I'm in the United States. I'm going to have a talk with him. I said, look, if you guys can't provide good health services because of your government, no problem. I have health insurance in Spain. I'll just go to Spain where I live and get my health care. But how many Americans can do that? In other words, say, hey, health isn't working in my country. Let's go to another country where the health is better. And the health is better in Spain because the average life expectancy is around 84. The average life expectancy in the United States is 77. So, the thing is, if you look at it objectively, you're better off not to be in the United States. And there's a lot of countries, including Japan, which leads the world in terms of health. So somewhere along the line, Rick, and maybe Dr. Patmos, we need to have a serious discussion about health in the U.S. and why it's so bad. I mean,
so are you going to talk to your doctor about your prostate? Because we're learning, with Biden having prostate cancer, that the doctors say, don't even get your prostate tested after age 70, because most prostates get cancer after a certain age, but it moves slow. It's not dangerous, and so apparently they were I don't know, kind of lazy about and so I'm going to go to my doctor next time I'm in there and say, yeah, you got to do something, maybe put your thumb up my butt and poke at it or give me a blood test. I'm not comfortable with ignoring my prostate after what happened with Biden.
Okay, so you don't want to die of prostate cancer, right?
No, I also there's stuff that's not great either that is short of dying. Like
Yeah,
you take your
well,
prostate.
that's one problem that as America ages, the thing is, as you get in your last quarter of your football game, things start breaking down, as my doctor would say. But the other problem you have is strokes. I mean, these are things that I've talked to Dr. Pappas how much he can discuss on that. But one of our commentators on the network had a stroke, and he's not in good shape. And the thing is, I'm not sure how you avoid these things called strokes. In other words, anybody that gets older and then all of a sudden, bang.
Well,
Yeah.
for one thing, like you gotta like look at AFib. Like most people, I think, have every once of a certain age, every once in a while, your heartbeat starts doubling up and your heart starts galloping for no reason for a few hours. That
Yeah.
beats up your blood cells. When you beat up your blood cells, they will clump together. And that's what a stroke is, where you get a clump in your head that cuts off blood supply.
And all this is very important for everybody, is to understand their health. So how many classes when you were in high school did you take on health? How many health classes did they have?
Okay, in junior high, the chemistry teacher was supposed to teach us about sex, and he was shy. He didn't want to, so he started the session, and then he left for 20 minutes. And of course, after 20 minutes, the class was going wild. He came back in. He goes, "You guys are out of hand. No sex education for you." So that was the extent of that.
Okay. What about health? How many medical classes did you take in high school?
I don't know, none that I remember.
Okay, how about college? How many medical classes?
0. Well,
and this is the problem that the education system had, and that's part of the reason I did not mind them shutting down the Department of Education in the United States, because it's worthless, but it's worse than you think. So my grandson's going to UNC Asheville. Okay, first thing I did is I went to see what the curriculum is. I think I know what he's going to major in, which is engineering. In other words, there's some engineering, which is good because you can actually get a job. But you should see the majors that they have that are worthless with a capital W. I don't know when and where the U.S. is going to get serious about it. Otherwise, we're all going to be working for Dr. Sharif and the people in Bangladesh who are taking their education very seriously. In other words, they're all into IT and learning about the
you might
computers.
be overstating. Like I only know the stats for one college, and that's Harvard. And half of the undergraduates at Harvard are majoring in STEM. So,
well, that's good. Then they have a shot. Yeah, Dr. Sharif.
And a lot of people are majoring in business as well.
Yeah. Dr. Sharif, yeah.
Yeah, I have one thing in mind. Like Professor Nick, you offer like money mastery or financial education, right? I think this is heavily important for people, and this is completely actually the education institution ignored in Bangladesh, completely ignored by the Bangladesh education systems. So how country like Bangladesh can launch this kind of education, like financial education and literacy programs? Or do you have any programs we can collaborate with you?
Sure. Financial education, yeah. We have a lot of programs. We have a couple on the internet. I mean, on our network. We have Wall Street Hackers, and we have Modern Investments that are both on the internet that we produce. But my opinion is, and it's a pretty weak opinion, but it's opinion, all the knowledge you need to know is stored on YouTube. So you don't need to go anywhere for knowledge. Just go to YouTube and take YouTube courses. There's a lot of knowledge that's available, but traditional education, of course, my thing is not working, so I can't beat up UNCF.
Yeah.
Where it all starts. Oh, I found it. Okay, I'm going to give you the academics. Let's see if they give you this. Programs. Here we go. Majors, minors, and accountancy.
So I'm reporting live here in Puerto Rico. Hi.
Yeah,
Where are you reporting
How
from?
you
You're
guys
still in
doing?
Puerto Rico?
we hear you. She's in Puerto Rico.
Puerto
I'm
Rico. Show us the
in a
beach,
small
baby. I
town
want
about
the
3 towns
beach.
away from Guayama. It's called Vallecas, I think is how you pronounce it. They're all just little villages all throughout the area. And I found a beautiful 3 bedroom, 2.5 bathroom, swimming pool, hot tub home for the same price as a hotel. So, talk about investing, make sure you get the most out of your money. The pool is beautiful, everything's well kept up. I'd used VRBO. But you can get some really good deals. The whole family can stay here, relax, have a good time, rest, which is very important. But all things are good. But Nick, we got a couple of new financial shows coming up in June. One is Ask the Experts, and we've got
Yes.
experts lined up that will be able to answer questions directly for the people. Like, they'll not just talk, but they'll answer questions live. And then we've got Annuity Vacations, which talks about how to invest your money in annuities. So, because there's just so much going on right now with
And Puerto Rico has frozen, unfortunately.
Puerto Rico froze.
So that means I can go through my diatribe. So for those people that are listening or want to listen, maybe Dr. Sharif likes to listen. Okay, here are the majors at UNC Asheville. Accountancy. Actually, that's pretty good because everybody needs an accountant. Ancient Mediterranean Studies. Okay, no longer accepting new majors. Ancient Mediterranean Studies. You're going to spend hard-earned money learning that. Anthropology. Okay, get ready for the unemployment lines. Art. BFA and BFA. I love art, but please, if you're spending a lot of money to get an art major, you're going to end up in the unemployment lines. Art history. I love art history, but please don't spend any money getting a
Hold on. My kid has a doctorate in art history. She has like 3 jobs. She's highly employable.
But what was her major?
Art history, and with a concentration in women's art. Like, she's looking at
experience. And she actually got a job.
She works at a palace. She works at Hampton Court Palace for the Society of Needlework as a curator. And that's only one of her jobs. She goes on the BBC. She works for an antiques dealer. She's like, she's always rushing. Like, she met the Queen of the Netherlands last week on an assignment. So if you're good at your job, there's a place for you. Now, if you go to a state school, the University of I don't know, Alabama as an art major, you may end up graduating and still be crappy at art. You need to go to a specialized art school like Art Center College of Design in Pasadena. But
okay, I'm just playing the odds. And the thing is, what I'd like to do is get these majors to disclose their incomes and their hiring percentages of their graduates. Astronomy.
They actually do usually release stuff like that. They usually release how much money they make. They actually tell their they usually tell their students that, because even journalists don't make money.
The thing is, Mark, these things are not. These are like direct to failure. Atmospheric sciences. Really?
That's telling. And in fact, is getting screwed over in the U.S. because we're firing all the atmospheric scientists.
See, the thing is, this is in full fairness, should be disclosed on their website. They're not doing that. Okay, biology. Generally, biology will lead you to nirvana. Business, not bad. Chemistry and biochemistry, good. Computer science, we still need these people. Drama, no longer accepting new majors. Good idea, because drama. Not that I don't love these things. I love chess, but please If you think you're getting a good, high-paying job in chess, good luck.
But
Engineering.
most people that are majoring in those things are not in it for the money. Most people will tell
Yeah,
you
you know,
they're not in it
well,
for the money.
then,
You want people to go and
then
use for
why,
the money, but most people that are
look,
anthropologists know that they're not going to make money.
that might all be true, Mark, but the thing is, somewhere along the line in your lifetime, you have to learn about basic capitalism and money grubbing principles. Okay,
But not
maybe that
necessarily
should be
that's
a
not what you want to
mandatory
study
course in
and
high
everything.
school.
Because
A
I was
mandatory course in high school.
Nick, you're gonna love this one. As well, Rick. I was reading an article recently where the gentleman was complaining, and you'll love what he was complaining about because we don't have our diversity experts on and everything like that. But he was complaining because he majored in archaeology, and apparently archaeology is, if you watch Indiana Jones and everything, it is a majority white field and everything. So this was even during the beginning of the pandemic. So he was complaining because he was trying to figure out why he went to dig and everything like that. He didn't see many people of color that were out there digging with him and everything. So he was actually trying to encourage more people of color to go out and get into archaeology and everything like that. Because he was saying that in the time that he had been in the field, and I think he had been in it for, matter of fact, he says, I'm an African American archaeologist who never saw anyone but white people doing archaeology until 2011, after doing archaeology for almost a decade. So he did it for almost a decade. And in the last survey of the U.S. archaeological workforce done by the Society for American Archaeology in 1994, a whopping 98% of 1,502 respondents identified themselves as being of European heritage. Only 2 identified as African American, while 4 identified as being of Asian heritage, 15 as Hispanic, and 10 as Native American. And it was a similar kind of thing in the UK. So definitely there seems to be a lack of diversity in some fields, and some people are trying to encourage people to go into the fields that they are into and all along those lines. But you would not have people go into archaeology at all. But maybe he's trying to encourage people to go into
all the fields you listed, Nick, all of them need people with STEM training because these fields are all being disrupted by technology and AI.
That's what I'm saying. The thing is, what I think is that people aren't being honest, and honestly, there's not too many jobs, Mark.
But Nick, there are actually, but that's why I disagree with you, because you can actually go. There's certain magazines and certain publications that will tell you how much money you'll make, and then college kids know these.
They'll
tell you how much money they make. They'll tell you their percentages of the job force. They'll tell you that you're not going to make any money. So even in art and drama, 2 of them.
You can make money in chess. The world champion makes $3 million, but
not everybody is as money hungry as you are. I've got a friend who had the pleasure. Hold on a second. I have a friend that's had the pleasure of traveling the world. He took his students around the world, to Japan, to Australia, to a number of other people.
Mark, that's the reason progressive.
Yeah, but all these STEM fields where you say all the money is, a lot of those jobs are going to get eaten up by AI. I believe that right now Microsoft, 30% of its programming is done by AI, which means that 30% of its programmers are like in danger of losing their jobs.
Hold on a second, because I want to get to one of your fields and everything along those lines. Because one of the bigger fields that existed was technology and everything like that. One of the biggest companies, and I'm actually glad to say that one of the founders and one of the early presidents was a fellow alumni of mine, but they just went bankrupt. So if you follow the news in North Carolina and everything, what used to be called Cree, Wolfspeed is filing for bankruptcy. So
I don't know who they are.
That was Cree. They had invented the LED lights and were very big in the LED light field when they first came out. So Chuck Swabata was the president of that. So if you got any LED lights, he was big into that. Then they sold the LED light portion to another company, and then Wolfspeed just announced, I think it was yesterday, that they are filing for bankruptcy. So some of these rich people, because he made a lot of money.
Usually when you see that, it's mismanagement. In other words, the thing is, and that's also hard to describe, but why these people mismanage. There's 3 other majors that lead you to poverty: music and jazz and contemporary, and music technology. 3 of them.
No, jazz.
You're on the road to poverty.
That's Dr. John Brown, who you've met and everything. So, but he's
as you go on and on, the thing is, the reality of these majors are not disclosed correctly.
But that's not true. They tell the kids.
I'll tell you, Mark, it's worse than that. Mark, it's worse than that. There's 0 disclosures. 0. Go to their website, UNC Asheville. I haven't gone to UNC yet. I'll go to the websites and you'll see no disclosures at all about your opportunity. The only thing that you will know that with certainty is how much debt you're going to incur getting that major. But there's nothing in there that shows your asset base. And this is a complete fraud on all the students in the United States of America who wish someday that these majors could make them rich or even making a halfway decent living, and they can't.
But
They
but
can't.
you're
So
making an
the
assumption
only
that
one
they're
who makes the
going
living
to
at
build for
is
money.
the teacher, because the teacher's getting paid by the sucker who's walking through the door. You
Like I
know,
said, you're making
and,
the
and,
assumption.
and that's one reason the Department of Education needs to go bye-bye. And someday you're gonna have to come clean and tell the truth. Because right now in the United States, Sharif doesn't know it, 1.7 trillion in debt are these students. They're in debt for the rest of their life, Sharifs, because they're coming here with this wishful thinking that these universities are going to make them a job, and they fail. And no one talks about it. It's like,
Yeah.
it's not talking where they'll be like Mark said, well, there is a job out there somewhere for somebody. Yeah, one person got the job and everybody else went to unemployment lines. Yeah.
But this is true for all fields. With tech disrupting every field, there are no more safe fields of employment.
Well, I think the health-related fields are pretty safe. In other words, if you're a medical doctor, I think you're pretty good off. Or if you're a veterinarian, pretty good off. Dentist, same thing. So the thing is, if you're in health-related fields, I think you're pretty well good to go. And if you're in some tech fields, you're probably good to go. And some engineering fields. So there's some places that are what I would call okay, but a lot of them are just oversubscribed. And then there's a lot of them that you have to get real. And there's no disclosures on this. You know, in my end, what I work in financial services, the big thing is disclosure. Those people at the Department of Labor say, you got to disclose this, you got to disclose this, you got to disclose your fees, you got to disclose everything. Then you go to education, there is no transparency in education. There is none. There is no disclosures. It is complete fraud. So when the government said we're not giving Harvard $2 billion, good for them. Because until Harvard and all the other universities get their act together and start disclosing adequately to the students that they threw 1.7 trillion in debt, they don't deserve one bloody dime. And
Well, hold a second. I'm at your US. Hold a second. I'm at your UNC Asheville, and they do break down. Hold on a second. I'm at your UNC Asheville. They do break it down if you want to go into atmospheric studies, because they say choose the pathway that aligns with your interests and career goals with 3 atmospheric science concentrations by expert design. Each option prepares you for employment after graduation and fulfills federal civil service requirements for a career as a meteorologist. Career options include weather forecasting, climatology, and broadcast meteorology, with so many possibilities which path you will take. So they do break it down. Storm chasing becomes an academic pursuit as your passion for unexpected
Mark, it's heresy. It's a fraud. They don't tell you your odds of getting a job in this field.
But apparently they have training programs, because they actually tell you in the matter of
they're disclosing. They're not disclosing what is material, my friend. The odds of getting the job and what you're getting paid is not
that have
there.
had jobs from USC Asheville. So I'm actually on their
So,
website, and some of them even joined the Meteorological Association as students.
It's like me telling chess players, oh, if you get a job being the world champion, you make $3 million a year. Oh, I should go play chess and become a chess player. No.
That's not a fair. That's not even a fair comparison. That doesn't even make any sense.
Not being fairly and fully
the comparison makes no sense. I'm saying if you dig deeper, but see, that's what you don't like to do. If you dig deeper, you'll actually see that they do provide a lot of that, including some of their past graduates that have had success and everything like that. So if you actually have to dig deeper to see what they're offering, they even have a club that is a member of the American Meteorological Society. So you actually can be tied into a national organization that is part of that as well. So see, you didn't even dig deep enough into what you say they don't have. So that's my point. You didn't dig deep enough into it. But I'm the journalist, so I did dig deep. But I did have a question. If he's still here, and I've got not on.
I have numbers.
See if he's there, Dr.
Sharif.
I know, but Dr. Sharif, because you're always talking about PBS and that and everything. Did y'all get Big Bird and Schoolhouse Rocks in Bangladesh, or did y'all not get that either?
Okay. As continuously I'm working with American University as a professor, let's say MIT React. I'm working with them, and many of their students actually get training from me uh, to get their jobs, right? So, from my experience, honestly speaking, I have some advice for students. Actually, the world has big opportunities if you have North American degree, but you have to know how to market it. That is the lacking. Even some Bangladeshi students, they live in Canada and USA. I some point I advise them, I help them. Some of them can understand, and most of some of them cannot. So things is very simple. I can remember in 2012, 2013, that time I was in University of Oxford. So that time I have some friends from Singapore. So that friends actually asked me for some help. They said, "Hey, I want to get some experience from Bangladesh in our summer vacation. So how you can help us?" So that time I work with the United Group, one of the largest group of companies in Bangladesh, and definitely Grameen Bank is one of the places where all of the good students and the people they come there. So I always request them, okay, come and join and invest your 1 and 2 months in Bangladesh with a corporation, good corporations. It give you good network and everything. So those who follow these things until this MIT React and advising, they actually get a very good success because they have a very good network. They understand the new market. They can help American company or Singapore company or British company to grow their business. Ultimately, the corporation actually want to invite these kind of people in their team. Very common things. But unfortunately, people actually just finish their studies, do not involve with different culture, different facts, and they lose their opportunities. Even in Silicon Valley right now, I have some very, very talented people. I can mention one name is Carlos. He is American, but he is a very dedicated to learn about Asian culture. So I help him, and right now he is also making a very good money and very good business, and he get a very good jobs in USA. So I want to request the if we have an audience from US education system, I want to request to get involved with different culture, involved with different corporations, ask them for opportunities and everything. When you have a good portfolio, honestly speaking, when you have a diversified knowledge and good portfolio, any multinational company gonna give you a job. Whatever the background you have, what is your CGPA? It's not a matter. Everybody want to expand their business. They want dynamic people who understand different cultures. That is my advice, and I think that is the way of getting success for the young people.
I agree with you on that, Rick. You
I
had
have
to say you're going to make.
statistics. So 4 years after graduation, 74% of college graduates have full-time employment. Another 7.5% are employed part-time. 14% are out of the job market. I assume being like a stay-at-home mom or dad or whatever. And 4% are unemployed, wanting a job but not having one. So, which I would think is, in line with people who aren't graduates.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That makes a lot of sense and everything. And a lot of those people are probably graduating in various fields, even among those that are employed. I imagine that among those employed are some weathermen, are some teachers. Because, like I said, I know quite a few people that are in the drama field and in the art field, and they have jobs. They had jobs as soon as they got out of college and everything like that. So definitely, I think that. But then there's that notion, which I'm sure you heard, Rick, and Sharif probably heard it as well, which is those that can do, those that can't teach and everything. But that's one of the jokes that people will say about drama as well as television and some of the other fields.
At some point in the next 20 years, we're going to see higher levels of job displacement because of AI and other tech. And some countries, some little European countries, are experimenting with minimum basic income, where the government gives everybody a stipend to live on, just without work, independent of any job related income. And we're probably going to see shifts in the worldwide economy as tech takes over more stuff. And Nick says everything is about getting a high paying job. Well, in the future, some of our necessities may be taken care of. And is it really socialism if it doesn't cost the state anything to give you to goose your income? Because food should get cheaper because of tech, clothing, a lot of necessities will get cheaper, and it'll become cheaper for people to get subsidized to a certain extent, which will free up people to pursue their interests. Say that in the field, say they studied in college without.
Yeah. Hey Rick, just real quickly, a friend of mine took a job recently. He just had it like 2 weeks ago and everything. And ironically, there are a lot of people in my studies of this particular job that are from places like Bangladesh and all along those lines. But he had been working in the tech field at a university. He'd also been doing it for us as well, meaning the Cultural Arts Center that I work at. But as of about 2 or 3 weeks ago, this good friend of mine took a job as the entertainment director for a cruise ship. So he now works for Virgin Voyages and everything like that. So he's actually in charge of a lot of the entertainment if you go on a cruise that you would be part of. Now, some people think that that's an exciting job, but I've also talked to friends of mine that say that a lot of times those people are not able to get off the boat as much as they think they're able to get off the boat.
It's probably not a high-paying job,
and it's not
your room and board is taken care of.
Right.
You as entertainment director, you'd probably have your own little apartment, your cabin on the ship, your food. The food's great on a ship.
Right.
But but it's being an entertainment director is probably a 14-hour a day job. You're available to the people on the ship whenever you're not in your cabin.
Right.
So, and you might be getting paid, I don't know, $40,000 a year.
We have a show about that, and some of those people get paid even better than that. I think some of the performers might even get paid closer to 60 or 70.
All right, but you're not going to get rich working on.
You're not going to get rich. You're not going to get rich performing on a boat or even being the entertainment director on a boat. Just really quickly, we've got a few more minutes to go. Dr. Sharif, what are the leading professions in? Because I know Nick keeps talking about we'll be working for you, but what are the leading professions in Bangladesh? So every country has its leading professions. What are most people studying and working in? What field is y'all's major professions?
If you look at Bangladesh economy look like dependence on garments industries. So garments industry has a lot of job opportunities here. Even though there are many multinational financial institutions like Standard Chartered banks, as Bangladesh is like a growing economy, right? So many multinational companies is coming to Bangladesh, like Grameenphone, like Robi, and all of the big companies come here. So this is another field people can choose, and definitely doctors, lawyers, teachers. This is very popular things, and we need a lot of good teacher because Bangladesh is highly density populated countries. We have around 57% youth, so around 88 to 90 million people, those who are young. So young people need a lot of good trainer, good teachers and everything. So I just want to say, I'm not worried about, as I'm a scientist, I invent technologies and I have my own patent of AI and all of the things. I'm not really worried about AI, honestly speaking. AI is a tool. Honestly speaking, it's simply a tool. Human wisdom, human capacity is much more valuable. I want to request Western world, let's explore global south. It can be Bangladesh, it can be India, it can be China, or it can be Malaysia. The more you explore global south, you will get more opportunities and you can solve many complex. Maybe in Silicon Valley, for you to getting jobs is very tough. But if you come to Singapore, it's very easy for you because of your experience and expertise. So why don't you try? So let's try and let's explore from global north to global south. It has a lot of populations, lot of opportunities, and you get real experience to grow yourself. You really get a lot of experience to grow your experience and everything. So it's a global community, one world. We help each other and we grow together.
That makes a lot of sense to get and wrap up everything. And who knows? I know Nick's in the background. Maybe some of us will wind up going into the farm professions because some of them made some money, some of them didn't make a lot of money. And I know even here in North Carolina, we had a very robust textile industry. As a matter of fact, I was recently at an event where they were hyping the fact that the socks had been made in North Carolina because we have a very rich textile industry and all along those lines. So I don't know if that's one of those fields that Nick thinks is a good one or not. But on that note, we're going to get out of here. And I know that there's a lot of farm land where Rick is as well, which is California and everything. But yeah, we'll have to think of those professions as well. But on that note, we're going to get on out of here and we're going to wrap everything up and in this particular episode. And we'll be back tomorrow with another edition of World Edition. And we have other shows, including Barbara Smith's coming up at noon with Johnny Smith. So we've got other shows coming here on Pod TV, and hopefully we'll catch y'all on those other shows.